I think you're this side.
Yeah, if you jump on that side.
And this is water in a can because that's what happens now.
Wanker. All right, let me make sure my phone's on silent.
Yeah.
Have you had a busy morning?
Me? Yeah, I'm producing my boyfriend's record at the moment, so
Oh, that's posh.
it's with him, obviously. I'm not the sole producer. I'm not Timberland. Sorry.
God, I'm already intimidated by multiple skill sets. That's I have zero. Well, maybe one sometimes.
Yes. Known for not being talented, David
Well,
Tennant.
that is what I certainly still feel very much like an imposter. But it's
We are
not
imposters.
about me.
We're all a
are
bunch of imposters. We're all
of course
completely
we are.
overprivileged twats who have far more than
Oh,
we
that's
deserve.
just, yes. David Tennant does a podcast with...
Jameela Jamil.
You're so much more experienced at doing this than I am. I'm slightly intimidated.
I've been doing this from the very, very beginning of my career,
Yeah,
so I love it.
yeah.
And it's both strange and fun to be on the other side when I'm being interviewed.
Is that all right? Do you mind that?
Yeah, it's just a constant struggle to pull back the urge to take hold of the entire interview and now make it all about you.
Yeah. Which do you have a preference?
I prefer interviewing.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh.
What about you?
No, I think I prefer... Depends who's doing the interviewing, doesn't it?
Right.
So I'll ask you again at the end. Mm-hmm. Hope for the best. I think because of something you said outside,
Right.
you're not going to know the answer to this question. Because I was going to ask you, do you remember when we last met? And I don't think you do.
I really don't, because this is the problem with everyone, is that, I'm in this industry where there's this constant blur of who I know and love from the television and whether I've met them in real life. And my instinct with everyone is I've met you, I know you, we hang out, you've breastfed me.
Yeah, we've done that.
Yeah, but I realise, upon meeting lots of different people, like Olivia Colman or anyone else, that I'm overly familiar. And then with a few seconds, I realise, fuck, we've never actually met. And I just know you from the telly. So you and I have been in DuckTales together.
Well, we have, yeah, but we don't get to meet when we do that, unfortunately.
No, but iconic, though.
Iconic.
Yeah.
I was very chuffed to meet
I signed on because you were on it. I didn't even know what the script was or the role was. I just saw your name.
I didn't know much about DuckTales, but some of the other guys who play Huey, Dewey, and Louie, are of the age that it just hit with. Yeah, I missed it completely, but they were very, very deep in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a religious experience for them being in that show.
I mean, it still penetrated me, like how massive that was.
Sure, good. I'm glad. Well, we have met before.
Okay.
And I think it was 2016.
Okay.
And it was in this.
Was I cringe?
No, you were
cringe.
utterly delightful.
Okay.
But it was at a very specific moment in your life, which is why you had quite a lot going on. So you maybe do not remember specifics.
Oh, I mean, I fully blacked out up until about 2 years ago. So.
Well, we were, and this will also define for the listeners what wankers we are. It was in the Soho House, Los Angeles.
Oh, God.
Yes. And now, this is where I think I've slightly misremembered the details, because this seems implausible. But in my memory, you had literally just touched down in Los Angeles and come straight from the airport.
Okay.
It can't be that simple. You can't have touched down at LAX and gone straight to the Soho House. Can you?
I could have.
Could you? Maybe you did then.
It's who I am. I'm a real twat.
Well, I was there to receive you.
But I lived right next door, so I probably dropped my bags in.
Maybe you
and
had
came
dropped your bags and came in. Yeah. I don't think we'd met before that, and I don't think we've met since.
No.
But it was, you had literally just, maybe not that day, but you were very fresh in town.
Right.
Having just signed off on the chart show on Radio 1 and sort of set forth on a bit of an adventure.
Yes.
I mean, quite a lot has happened since that day in 2016. That would be right, yeah?
I left in 2015.
Maybe it was 2015.
I left in 2015 and I just sort of didn't want to be on TV anymore ever again. lol. And I wanted to be a writer and a DJ. And so I just fucked off. And then my boyfriend and I got together, and he was a touring musician. So I jumped on a tour bus with him for the majority of that year. And we went around the world in and out of LA. And then I ran out of money. And so I said, please, can I have a job, any job? I will do anything. I only didn't do porn because I don't have any upper body strength, but I would have. And then,
why do you need a lot of upper body strength for porn? Is that an obvious?
It's also just like the strength of the thighs. I have no glutes. I'm Indian. Like, it was just that we're just not like God skipped glutes, I think, for Asians.
Okay.
So really, just all my strength is in my spirit, really, not my body. But so porn was not an option. So I in other
ways it would have been. I mean, do you think you could? Would you be able to perform that for a public audience?
I have no idea. I was so desperate for money at that point. I had $17 left in my bank account.
Wow.
I was real keen.
Yeah.
But instead, I was handed a bunch of auditions. One of them was for a magic show in Vegas, taking over from Jonathan Ross, who no one knew has been hosting this secret magic show for years. Yeah, it's called Fool Me with Penn and Teller.
What?
Years. This man has been sneaking off secretly to fucking Vegas and doing a huge magic show, right?
What?
And so they were looking for a replacement, and I did the audition, and I also did the audition for The Good Place, which I didn't want to do because I'd never acted before and just thought, that would be sacrilege.
LA, though, isn't it? That doesn't happen here. People don't go, well, you've done this. Do you want to be an actor now?
No, it's the opposite. Here, it's like, stay in your lane.
Yes.
And the reason I left is partially because I wanted to be able to write, and I knew that you can't write. You're a TV presenter. You're a radio presenter.
Imagine
that
you might write like on a show, like in a writer's room type thing. Okay.
Yeah. And I had my own show that I pitched, and I got signed to 3 Arts agency based off of this script that I had been writing. And they were the ones who said, we want you to go to this audition for Mike Schur, The Good Place. You'll have more power as a writer if you have a name for yourself, or you can just meet him and maybe he'll put you in the writer's room.
Right.
So I went to the audition, just like very much so not thinking anything was going to come of it. And I got both the magic show and Mike Schur.
Right.
And I had to make a choice. You weren't allowed to do both.
Right.
Because both wanted to be the one to discover this new insane English woman.
Yeah.
And so I ended up I got pushed towards doing The Good Place.
How much pushing had to be done? Because if you'd never acted. So
no,
it was
never
just
acted. Never, nothing. No acting lessons, nothing.
Right.
Like ripe and, no, not ripe, raw.
Was that the first acting audition you'd ever done?
Yes.
I mean, it's a good hit rate.
It's yeah 1 for 1. So I went, and I think it was just my total calm and chill in that I didn't expect to get it that massively helped me be funny and relaxed in the room. And I think they just hadn't seen anyone like me. Everyone was so eager and keen and hungry for it, and I was not. Because I was like, I didn't see that for myself. I consider acting so important to me in that I love movies. I worked in a video shop for 5 years. It was the best job I've ever done to this day. It's the happiest I've ever been at work. It's just sitting down, watching films all day long, taking stock, rewinding them, finding out who's renting porn. It was just everything that I needed. And I worked in Hampstead and Belsize Park, so all the celebrities were there. So I knew who was watching that, who was cheating, who was doing this, that and the other. I was like a singular teenage Daily Mail all in one person, just holding all the secrets of the British industry.
Well, because there's things to be learned about people on what they are hiring. Is it? Now, of course, that's all secret.
But also I booby-trapped the porn section and put it right next to the till. So if you so much as breathed too hard, it was all coming down on you. And then everyone would turn around and look. I can't remember if we got Judi Dench or if we almost got Judi Dench.
Bless her. You hit Judi Dench with porn.
She was just trying to get down the stairs, but I think it just nearly went. But yeah, she was just making her way down. The steps.
That Judi Dench was not buying porn back in those days.
No,
that would have ruptured too many.
No, she's already got her own collection at home, I imagine.
Sure, I imagine she does.
Yeah. So I went to the audition, and I just thought I didn't deserve to be there. I didn't deserve to be in a show with Mike Schur, with Ted Danson, Kristen Bell, and I tried to talk Mike Schur out of it when he gave me the job, but he insisted that it was me. And he just threw me right in the deep end. And my first day was opposite Ted Danson, just going head to head with him. And I was such a huge fan.
So the first person you acted opposite was Ted Danson.
Yeah.
That's pretty
The
great.
first season, a lot of my scenes are with him.
Sure, yeah,
Which is also an acting masterclass because he's a fucking genius.
Yeah.
And so I just sort of almost didn't have time to be self-conscious or be afraid. I was like, well, you know, there's no space for imposter syndrome because I am an imposter. So it's not a syndrome.
It's not a syndrome. It's just where we're at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've crashed the wedding. Get in, snog who you can, create some trouble, get some free food, and fuck off.
Yes. It's interesting because I think most actors would say that's a superpower, of course, that you were given because of these extraordinary circumstances. You sort of had nothing to lose, which means you're going into that room. If you were to audition, do you still have to audition?
Yeah, of course.
Right. But if you're going to audition now, having done some acting, have those kind of demons arrived?
Totally. I think way more because now I feel as though people expect me to do a good job.
Well, because you were on an enormous sitcom.
Yeah, exactly. And it went really well. Yeah. And then I did Marvel and then I did all these other things. And so I have a prestigious career, except I've actually done pretty much near fuck all.
Yes.
And that's absolutely petrifying. And I feel so deeply and self-aware and unworthy of most of the rooms I end up in. Like, you know, I was in the AFI Awards winning an AFI with like Nicole Kidman in the room and Steven Spielberg and like all these different fucking people. Yeah. And then I'm just this little cunt who a year ago, you know, was like, am I strong enough to do porn? You know? So it's just been very, very surreal.
Yeah,
and so now if I act, I just feel embarrassed when I'm doing auditions because I'm like, they probably don't know why I'm here. But I've had a fairly good success rate with the, you know, I don't audition very often because I don't like a lot of scripts.
Right.
I only want to do something. It's a huge time commitment. It's a huge privilege, but it's a huge time commitment and a time away from the people that you love. And so I only do that when it's something that feels like it's going to really nourish me and change my life.
Right.
I don't work for the sake of working. I don't take any of my validation from this industry.
Had Los Angeles, Hollywood, America, had that sort of loomed as the sort of the ultimate place to land? Is that why? No. So, but you just had enough of Britain?
Yeah. I was just sort of like, I was just on a jolly, you know, like I just sort of, I've never taken anything seriously. I was an English teacher who didn't plan on being in this industry at all. I was street scouted in a pub, in the Green Man pub on Berwick Street.
So what does that mean? Someone literally just touch on the shoulder?
Someone and I just had a sort of a funny argument at the pub, at the bar.
Yeah.
And then he was like, you should be on telly. You shouldn't be an English teacher. And I was like, I would never be on television. And he was like, oh, okay, well, it's £1,000 a day. And I was like, please give me the email.
Yeah.
And changed my tune real quick.
But some random bloke tapping on the shoulder in a pub, it doesn't...
He didn't tap me on the shoulder. We just had an argument. He turned out to be a TV producer.
What did you argue about?
I can't remember. It was something about him having a problem with me drinking a pint of water at a pub. You know, you're not in England, you're not allowed to not drink alcohol.
Yeah, sure.
Even at 5 p.m. on a Friday.
Sure.
And so it was something about that. And I was 21 and quippy and feisty. And so I sort of snapping back at him and he was like, well, aren't you on telly? And he said there was this open audition for the whole country. Anyone could apply because they were looking to replace Alexa Chung.
Oh, yes.
And so I sent in a little cover letter with a picture and then they asked me for a video. So I sent in a video and then they asked me to come in to Channel 4 and do the massive audition. And the whole time I just thought it was a lull.
Right.
You know, I was like, again, like, obviously, I'm not going to become an English teacher who overnight becomes the T4 presenter. It was the biggest fucking show in the country at the time. And I got it.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but I got it. And so I've just been sort of like fighting for my life really, David, this whole time, because then I went and did radio, which I had no experience in, and I wrote a column and I'd never written a column before. Yeah. My story is so deeply unpopular in this industry. And whenever I get asked all the time to come to universities and talk about my struggle as a brown woman in this industry, and I always have to decline.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I have not struggled.
Right.
It's very uncharming. Do you want me to leave?
No, I quite like it. It's refreshing.
I'm not going to make up loads of strife. No, I've just had really weird... I've been in exactly the right time at the right place to the point where it constantly feels like I'm in the Truman Show.
Sure.
It's all to me just getting off the phone to my agent going, fuck off. What do you mean I got the job? It's ridiculous. And so, it's good because it means I've never I've never disappeared up my arsehole because I'm well aware that I don't belong here. But I'm having a lovely time and I'm working very hard because I care deeply about not letting down the people who've taken a stupid chance on me.
It's not everyone who can find the version of themselves that is public facing. Because, I mean, even presenting it's not the same as acting, but it's a version of you that isn't entirely you, isn't it? Did you find you just had an easy access to that? Was it the same persona that you were teaching a class with?
No, it wasn't. No, it was, I really die when I look back at videos of it now. I have a tendency to turn into whoever I'm around.
Okay.
I had to take pills last night so that I didn't start doing a Scottish accent today.
I'm
not joking.
At any point, you're very welcome.
I'm not joking. I had to take pills. I have little pills that I take sometimes.
What, anti-Scottish pills?
Yeah, because I had to, just paracetamol. I did an interview for like the cover of Indian Vogue, and I had to get rid of the footage of me because I didn't realise that I'd slipped into like an Indian accent during the interview.
Right,
and I was like, that comes across as inappropriate, even though I'm from India. Like
even though you're allowed.
It doesn't look right where I'm like, I just like, I really care about the culture. And so it just happens without me realising it. And so I morph into whoever I'm around. So I just fucking morphed into the other T4 presenters. And so, like Alexa speaks, a little bit like that.
Yeah.
They all speak a bit like that. And so I sort of turned into like a sort of shit Steve Coogan, like... Because I just did it too much. I was like sort of Alan Partridge vibe. I just speak a lot with my teeth. And that's not how I speak. And then, I moved on to Radio 1. My accent constantly changes. My mannerisms change. My intonation changes. It probably explains why being an actor is quite fluid for me.
Yeah.
Because I have really no idea who I am. I'm a mirror. I'm just a wandering mirror with nipples. But when I take these pills, I become my full self, and I wanted to show up today.
What pills are these exactly?
I'm not going to tell people because we can't be medicating people. It might not be the right one for them.
It might not be the right one for them.
It's a very, very strong, ultimately brain damaging anxiety medication.
Okay.
That stops me from overthinking everything because I just my whole life I've just become whoever I'm around. So
sure.
Well, I don't remember why I told you this, but I've never spoken about any of this publicly.
This is the content we're here for. It's all going very well.
When it comes to weight loss, no two people are the same. That's why Noom builds personalized plans based on your unique psychology and biology. Take Brittany. After years of unsustainable diets, Noom helped her lose 20 pounds and keep it off.
I was definitely in a yo-yo cycle for years of just losing weight, gaining weight, and it was exhausting.
And Stephanie. She's a former D1 athlete who knew she couldn't out-train her diet, and she lost 38 pounds.
My relationship to food before Noom was never consistent.
And Evan, he can't stand salads, but he still lost 50 pounds with Noom.
I never really was a salad guy. That's just not who I am. Even through the pickiness, Noom taught me that building better habits builds a healthier lifestyle. I'm not doing this to get to a number. I'm doing this to feel better.
Get your personalized plan today at Noom.com. Real Noom users compensated to provide their story. In 4 weeks, the typical Noom user can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Individual results may vary.
In the early 14th century, a mighty emperor is given a holy task. To seek forgiveness for his terrible crime, he has to make a journey like no other. Join me, Luke Pepra, as I tell you the story of Mansa Musa, the richest man who ever lived, and his adventure that would change the world. Hear his incredible, untold story over 6 action-packed episodes on This Is History Presents Empire of Gold. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
It's a sort of by accident you bounce from one thing to another. You end up on the chart show on Radio 1, which I was thinking about this morning. I don't think that means what it used to mean. The top 40 used to be Huge. Everything. I remember writing it down in a book every week as it came out. I don't know why. I don't know what I thought I was going to do with that data, but I have a little book somewhere with week after week's charts, and I had a little going up, going down notation next. I mean, I wasn't the sexiest
a bit
teenager.
Neurodiverse. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, probably. But it was a massive show. And then you just went, I've done that.
What, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd done it for a few years, and I think I've
done that. I'll go to LA.
I've done that. No, I just sort of I was just a bit done. I felt as though it wasn't that I was done with Radio 1. I loved Radio 1. It's just the fact that no one would let me, I was trying for a year to get anyone to meet me in the kind of comedy world, because I had this script that was a really good idea.
Right.
And I wanted to, I wanted to do more comedy, and no one would even meet with me. Not a single agent would meet with me.
That's weird.
And I was a big name here.
Yes.
But it was just stay in your fucking lane. So I just, and it's such a shame, because they would have then made a ton of money if they'd worked with me, because I got the good place. But everyone told me to fuck off. So I was like, okay. And then I was at the Glamour Awards, and I was winning an award or something. And then someone came up to me and they were like, oh, we'd love to have you on Strictly Come Dancing. And I want to make sure that I don't come across in any way as judgmental of that show. I think it's fucking amazing television. But that's the show that a lot of people do when they're trying to have a comeback of some sort, because you get to really be reintroduced to the public and you really let them in, and it's a real journey they go on with you. And I was like, I'm fucking 28. Why am I needing to reinvent myself? And I was like, that's the sort of thing I could see myself doing maybe now, not now because my career's changed, but I could see myself doing that in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s or whatever. But I didn't need a second act. I was still getting into my first act. But in England back then, we saw 30 as time for a woman to need to reinvent herself. And I was like, this is just fucking nonsense. So I just left. I was like, okay, I guess I've done everything that I could possibly want to do. I've done all the BBC documentaries and done the chart, won the awards, done that, I've had all the adventures, and they weren't going to let me try anything new. So I just buggered off. And I think that's why we lose a lot of British talent, here. And so for a decade, I just went off to America just to see what was out there. I didn't plan on becoming an actress. I just wanted to know if I could do anything else.
Because America's always been a bit better at that, you think?
I think it's not even just better. I mean, it's a completely different way of working. They are excited by a multi-hyphenate. A multi-hyphenate here is seen as someone who's a bit distracted and a jack of all trades, master of none. Whereas they're not looking for a master of anything in America. They're looking for, how many different hats do you wear? How many different ways can you be utilised? Show us all the different ways that you're special. Almost to the detriment, by the way, of a lot of artists, because it's the way that we expect pop stars to also be hilarious and amazing at social media, and we expect actors to do amazing interviews and tell viral stories on Jimmy Fallon. It's these are artists. We're all weirdos. We're not supposed to be good at that, but in America, you have to be good at everything, and you have to be able to sing, and you have to be able to do this and that and the other, and be a perfect activist and a politician and a da-da-da-da-da. And so, but I just think for me at that time, it felt like an adventure was still possible there. And I think England's changed a lot in the last 10 years. And they're getting way better.
Yeah,
totally. You've got Catherine Ryan making TV shows and sitcoms and stuff, and all these different people who are now branching out. Ramesh. And so I feel as though we're in a better place. It just wasn't there when I was here.
No,
I would have loved to have done it here.
Yeah. But you did go to Hollywood. You did against...
I did. Well, I met you. What was our interaction like?
I think I'd just read something about the fact that you'd given up the chart show.
Right.
And then suddenly I'm sitting like a wanker in Soho House, Los Angeles. I was over doing some press and publicity, so I was peak wanker. And then you suddenly were just there. I can't even remember who I was with. I don't know who, our cohort that obviously overlapped, but we ended up having a chat about it. And I was going, oh yeah, I've just read you've given up the chart show. And you went, yeah, and I'm here. I went, what are you here for? No idea. It was pretty much that. And then, as you've explained, and then I don't remember sort of hearing your name for a year or so. And then suddenly you were on The Good Place. Yeah.
And then I was fucking everywhere for a bit because I couldn't keep my fucking mouth shut.
Well, but then you also, you happened to by accident land on what one might describe as the last big network US hit, because they don't really happen anymore.
No.
Maybe Young Sheldon, maybe, I don't know. But, these shows, the Friends and the Frasers and the Cheers, they don't sort of exist because the way we consume television has changed. And yet The Good Place bucked that trend, didn't it?
Yeah, and it was such a strange show that didn't follow any rules, and it didn't dumb itself down for the audience.
No,
it had faith in the audience, which I think
clever and funny and surprising. And
a lot of network TV has suffered for the fact that they underestimate the intelligence of the American public. I think that's also a problem here, partially, but not as bad. I think British television is just fundamentally better, but you can see when they're doing it. You can see when they're going after the lowest common denominator and underestimating how smart the British public are. And so cable didn't underestimate people. Cable went out looking for, those who want something more. Well, they did. But now we're all fucked because of second screen viewing.
Because we're all on our phones at the same time.
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, second screen viewing is something that is asked for by networks, where we have become so openly addicted to our phones that they expect we will be scrolling on our phones while watching a TV show, which is so fucking depressing. And so they need all of the plot lines to be simple enough that you'll be able to still follow along while shopping on your phone. And so they ask writers to dumb down and dumb down and dumb down their plots so that people can still follow along in the background. That's what we've allowed to happen to art. And we as a public have the chance and the responsibility to turn that around.
Sure. But how do we do that? I mean,
get off our fucking phones. Get off our fucking phones. Like, make a pact.
I will not be on my phone when I'm watching TV.
No, same.
I will not do it.
Same.
And sometimes I really want to be, because it's not always great.
I do pick up my phone during sex scenes because I can't watch them.
Right, okay.
So I have to.
That gives you a little out.
Yeah, I start making menus of things that I'd like to order on Uber Eats during that time.
And
so
why? What is it about? Because obviously we know you consider a career in porn. So what is it about witnessing a sex scene that you find so difficult?
It doesn't reflect real life. Unlike porn, which is like a documentary. No,
exactly. Like a hidden camera show.
No, but it's. I feel shy. I feel shy watching it. It doesn't reflect real life.
Because you're imagining you're that actor kind of going, oh, sorry, could you move the sheet? No,
it's not that. No, it just feels like, I don't really know why there are sex scenes in films at all. I miss the crashing wave or the, the cork coming off the champagne.
The train going into the tunnel.
I loved all of that. I don't think we need to see so much of that. It just always feels a bit unnecessary and a bit intimate, a bit personal. It feels like being on the tube and looking at people kissing and just continuing to look. It's like, look away.
Yes.
And so I look away. I feel as though I'm encroaching upon their privacy.
You're being polite.
But also I don't know what face to make.
Right.
What face do you make when you're watching a sex scene?
I'm not aware that I know that.
That might be a problem, David.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, only if I'm drooling, presumably.
Well, who knows? Even smiling. There are very few faces that you can actually make during watching a sex scene. Yeah. Do you want to see the one that I've landed on if I'm in a cinema and I can't get away?
Yes, please. It's for the benefit of the... It's a smirk. Huh. It's a kind of,
They did that. They are doing that.
It's slightly...
consenting young folk.
They're not always young.
No. But mostly because Hollywood has a huge ageism problem.
Because Hollywood. I'm trying to describe it to our... It's a slightly smug...
No, it's not smug. I don't appreciate that intonation.
You don't like that?
It's not smug, because I'm not proud of anything. It's just a sort of like,
okay.
I'm good for you. That's what it says. It says, good for you.
Well done, naked people.
Yeah, you did that.
Well done, except we know you didn't really.
Yeah, not really.
You sort of pretended to really do that.
I know. Get fucking close, though.
So you've never... I would never
do it. No,
you would never.
All my contracts are like no sex scenes, very little kissing, and I'll only do comedy kissing. I dropped out of 2 projects this year because they wanted me to be like physically intimate, with the other person. And I was just like, I just can't take myself seriously here. This is too weird. It's too ridiculous. I could pretend to kill someone.
Are you sure?
I could pretend to do I pretended to fall down a sinkhole. I could do all kinds of things. But I won't do that.
I don't think your career in porn would have worked.
Really not, no. But you know what? Frigid porn is actually
that's a thing?
underused. No. But I think that there's a niche for that. you know?
Don't touch me.
Yeah, exactly. So many of us
Stop
feel that way.
touching me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah.
Maybe I took too many anti-anxiety pills last night.
You've taken just the right amount.
Loosey-goosey with my thoughts.
It's just perfect. So suddenly you're in LA, suddenly you're in this massive hit show.
Yeah.
And do you think how quickly did it take off? Was it a big hit straight away?
It was.
Were you immediately
cult hit immediately?
Okay.
And like within 5 months, I was shooting the like Deadline or a Variety magazine, like who's most likely to win an Emmy photo shoot. Nonsense.
Right. So it was within the first season. It went mad.
Yeah. By the time I came back to season 2, like I was being recognised everywhere.
Bananas.
And then we ended up on Netflix by the time season 2 came out. And then it was just
Brits
stratospheric.
Yeah.
Stratospheric.
Yeah. Both those
and then now there's not a country in the world I can go to where people don't freak out and start calling me Tahani.
And is that okay?
Yeah, it's lovely.
Okay. Always
lovely, always lovely.
Right.
Always lovely. The only time I've ever had a problem with being approached in public is when I was in the middle of a screaming match with my brother, and she still asked for a photo, and I was like, that's crazy, because we are in the middle of a Barney, but I still did it. I look a little stressed in the photo. But
you've seen the photograph, have you?
She tagged me in it. I was like, why the fuck would I want to see this?
Of course you did. Yeah.
But no, I'm very, very comfortable with it. I feel very, very... I am an effusive fangirl. Right?
Nice.
And
That's
when
nice.
I go to the Golden Globes, I want to fucking meet everyone and I want to fucking selfie. All right, David?
Yeah, good.
I'm amazed.
Good.
It's only because there's a rule in Soho House that we can't take photos. Otherwise, I would have fucking asked you for a selfie.
Yes.
Like, I loved, like, any chance I've ever had of getting to meet people that did a thing that made me happy. And so I think it would be so gross and such bad karma if I ever shut that energy off for anyone who's excited to meet me. Do you know what I mean? So I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
When you're in the room with someone, I met Jim Carrey or like I met Melissa McCarthy or Kristen Wiig. It's like I'm just bursting with wanting to just tell them that I love them and they made me really happy one time. And so I think it's just a beautiful thing. And I think it's a bit fucking... I don't know. I don't mean to sound judgmental of people who have a problem with it. Everyone's got their own boundaries and their own issues. But I just think it's really exciting if someone wants to be like, oh, I really love that thing you did, or it really cheered me up during the pandemic. It just feels very nice to me, and it feels like a nice flow, and therefore the universe has allowed me to meet people I love.
For sure. But it's sort of different at the Golden Globes to you having a screaming match in the street with your brother. There are moments when presumably you would like to switch it off.
But I don't have that. No, I mean, listen, in an ideal world, I have total privacy. The thing I fucking hate is when people take photographs or videos of me without asking me first.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's the only boundary I draw.
And do you call them on
creepy.
it?
Yeah. I just say like, hey, like, come over, let's do a picture. Like, please don't do that because now you're just creeping me. You're making me feel like I feel self-conscious in public.
Yeah.
That's not cool. That enters into like paparazzi territory. Yeah. And that's not ideal.
Somebody asked me for an autograph when I was in the shower at the gym.
That's insane.
A naked man came up to me, also naked, and asked, with a piece of paper, and asked for me to sign it.
What did you say?
I was so taken aback.
Yeah.
I sort of...
Knob out.
Oh, we were both naked humans,
so
two
knob
naked
to
humans.
knob.
Knob to knob. I think I swiveled.
Right,
so I think I was still knob facing the wall.
Right, okay.
Because I didn't want... He wasn't. He was standing very much...
He was knob at you. You were shaft at wall.
I was at wall because, you're turning to the wall to shower anyway.
Yeah,
there was sort of open, those sort of open pens. It was one of them.
That's crazy.
And so I'm sort of... I think washing hair at the time, and I sort of swivel my top half when I'm tapped on the shoulder, already inappropriate. Don't tap a naked person on their naked shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's holding out a bit of paper, which is slowly turning to mulch.
Oh my God.
Because there's a lot of water flapping around. But in that moment, I can think, if you can't see how inappropriate this is, it's going to be quicker for me to just sign this and move on, because... What's the point of interacting and trying to explain?
Some people are just genuinely missing the chip of the awkwardness. And I'm sure they walk away later thinking...
Well, that woman who...
That was probably not cool. Although she did tag me in it, so I think she didn't really get it. But, it is what it is. But that's the only time I can ever think of a time where I was like, not now. I really like the one where Gerard Butler got asked at dinner for two girls to were like, excuse me, could you take a photo of us? And he was like, I'm having food with my family. I am fucking relaxing. I'm trying to have a nice time. And they were like, we don't know who you are. We just wondered if you would take a photo of us.
Brilliant.
Fucking hilarious.
Brilliant.
Hilarious. God bless him for telling that story.
Brilliant. Well done. Yes, well done, Gerard.
But
well done.
It would really, really hurt my feelings if I loved someone and I just wanted a quick second to tell them I love them and then they were mean to me. It would really kill every bit of work I've ever seen they've done. And so I just try to remember that anytime anyone stops me.
Yeah, sure.
But there you go.
Yeah.
I'm just a really great person,
You're
David.
Really, I mean, there's
Am I Jesus? Who's to say?
At the Coca-Cola Company, Keurig Dr. Pepper, and PepsiCo, our bottles might still look the same, but some of them can be remade in a whole new way, using 100% recycled plastic. New bottles made using no new plastic except the caps and labels. You'll be seeing more of these new bottles in more places, and that's thanks to you. Because when we get more bottles back, we can use less new plastic. Learn how our bottles are made to be remade at madetoberemade.org.
So you're losing your anonymity, but that's all good because it's very positive.
Yeah, and an interesting thing that I found with my relationship with fame, because I definitely found being famous in England really, really stressful, but that's partially because I had no idea who I was and the version of me that was put out to the public was so disingenuous versus who I really, really was, because I didn't know who I was because I was in my fucking 20s and I was being so careful and so scared. And when you're a girl in this industry as well, you're so fear-mongered about doing anything wrong. It'll all be taken away from you because there's another singular woman who will take your place and she'll be the new only woman in the room.
Yeah.
So you're just terrified. And now that I'm older, I'm almost 40. I know exactly who I am. I feel so comfortable in myself. So I don't feel confronted when someone meets me IRL. In the real world, when someone meets me, it used to feel so jarring because it's like, oh no, I have to switch on my performance mode.
Yeah.
But now I'm just me, and everyone knows me from Instagram. They know they know me from my podcast. They know I'm a bit weird and strange and awkward and socially inept, and so they expect that of me when they meet me. And so it's just nice. It just feels like being in a big village, like in the Cheers bar, but everywhere is the Cheers bar.
Yeah. And you actually know Ted Danson, so
exactly.
You're allowed to be in Cheers bar.
Yeah.
Because alongside that fame, you also found a platform, didn't you? You found your voice as someone with stuff to say. Mm-hmm. Did that seek you out, or did you seek it out?
I don't think either. I think I just, I've been speaking out about stuff that I cared about and thought about. I've been speaking in Parliament for fucking years when I was in England. It's just that I caught the zeitgeist at the exact right moment. It was post Me Too. We were suddenly interested in what women wanted to say. And I said the same things 5 years ago and was told I was just moaning and complaining. And now the same exact words were being celebrated, circulated, and hyper-focused on. So I think it was just the right time, right place. Post the Me Too movement, I happened to be a good communicator and I was writing these essays on a blog that was just sort of circulating and permeating. And I just sort of hit the right note with what I was saying for the moment. And people really resonated with me and people just sort of swarmed towards me because I was unmedia trained. I was just saying what I really thought about the very industry I was in. I was lifting back the curtain and exposing everything and exposing everyone. And I think the public felt like I was their inside man. And I think in some way I still am. I'm not saying I'm so relatable. I know I don't live a relatable life, but I was a documentary maker for years. And I think I still look a bit at this industry like I'm still, an investigative journalist going, what the fuck are we doing? What are we putting out into the world? This is such an amazing opportunity to put art and beauty and hope and unity into the world. And we just pump so much shit out there, so much toxicity. And so I guess it's my kind of carbon footprint, my arsehole footprint.
Right. You mean you're making up?
Making up for, what I'm, whatever we put out. I guess I'm trying to be like... I'm just hoping that the industry can become a better, safer place for everyone.
Right.
Inside and the people who consume what we make, because it makes a difference. It changes people. I've been changed by films that I've seen. And so you can do that for the better or for the worse.
Yeah. So you have this, so you're very engaged online. You're in that
very engaged. But I think for a really long time, I really just didn't get that my platform was becoming so big because it's just numbers, you know, like I'm just alone in my bed, you know, high, you know, just tweeting away, feeling like I'm just having a chat and just wanting to be involved in conversation. I didn't think of it as like me with millions of followers speaking to the masses and they shall listen, and that, you know, I wasn't preaching anything. I was just trying to start a conversation or be part of a conversation. But I was really like fucked by the media, the way they always, even just yesterday, the way they reframe the way I'm talking as if I'm preaching at everyone, finger wagging at everyone. I'm always on my soapbox. I'm the ultimate lefty liberal snowflake, and, you know, I hate men and this, that and the other, and I'm pro cancel culture. I've been loudly against cancel culture for years. I've been loudly talking about my empathy and sympathy for men since 2018. I made a whole speech about it, a 10-minute speech about it that I gave on a big platform. I have been framed by the media as this like very aggressive, misandrist, constantly moaning and complaining, screaming, hysterical, violent nightmare. And that's just not who I am. But, you know, I also fed into that by being very, very loose on the internet. I called Lawrence Fox. I said he looked like a freshly wanked cock. You can't say stuff like that when you've got 4 million followers. I said that Piers Morgan was a shit stain smeared across our nation's history. You know, like right. I was sort of kidding, but, you know, but also that's just not how to speak when you also speak at the UN.
Right.
And I just didn't know that there's any rules. I was just being myself.
So you've had to sort of learn on the job how to be politic, is what you mean?
Not just politic, but also recognising that I was part of the problem of the left, of the liberals. You know, like we are just such aggressive and intolerant people. We're all like diversity, but not diversity of thought. And inclusion, but not if you don't like abide by everything that we say. Like we're a cult. And I think that I think our hearts are in the right places, but I think the way that we behave is sanctimonious, and it is hypocritical at times. And I think we push the very people that we most need to convert or open the minds of away. We push the people who already agree with us away. The way that we look at things is if, like, you know, someone can agree with you on 95% of the same things. And if they disagree with us on one thing, that entire 95% gets thrown away and we just kick you out and we ostracize you and punish you and shame you. We are an off-putting group, and I was part of that because I was loud and I was callous and I didn't communicate with empathy. And so I ended up just alienating Lawrence Fox's fans or Piers Morgan's fans. Just think that they probably think because I think the person they like is a piece of shit, that I think they're all pieces of shit. But and I didn't show myself to be educated in that moment or tolerant, so I'm not modelling any of the things that I wish to see from those men. You have to be the fucking change you wish to see in the world, and liberals are not very good at doing that right now. But
the other side are, I mean, Lawrence Fox is not shy of flinging out an insult.
Totally. But, and it's not that I should just sit there and take it. But when, you know, I've said this before recently that, like, you know, I've got such an instinct of like, I'm not always a very good person. Like when you go low, I'll go lower. And my instinct is to drag you into the lava of hell and then pull you down by the tiny little hairs around your anus. And that's my base instinct. And I have to fight that if I want to be able to. You can't fight hate with hate. I don't think you need to fight it with love, but you need to fight it with sense. And I think that we've been so provoked by very base people into behaving in a similarly base way, but then acting like we are morally superior. And even if the things that we want are morally superior, the way we go about it is fucking horrifying. And we have alienated people who were on our side, who've now become quote unquote centrist or centre right. You know, we push people away. We speak callously and cruelly to people, and then we don't say sorry. And I don't want to be a part of that. Over the course of like the pandemic, watching the way that liberals, you know, or people who are pro-vaccine talk to people who are anti-vaccine, or, you know, race conversations, trans conversations, everything. It was all so volatile on both sides. And I realised that my being so celebrated for being so callous and reactive and outspoken, not outspoken, but you know what I mean, like volatile. I was put on the cover of Vogue. I was put in Time Magazine's 25 most influential list. I couldn't have been more It sent out a message to women and to everyone that this is how you get ahead. This is how to behave. This is celebrated behavior. And actually, if I could go back and change the way that I behaved, I would. And so I've spent the last few years of the pandemic trying to reframe everything I think and say the same things, but in a kinder and more informed way that actually has a chance at opening someone else's mind. Because neurologically, when you label someone, when you make them feel unsafe or you make them feel like they're going to be locked out of the group, which triggers tribalism, like anthropological tribalism in them, where they feel terrified, they start to have a cortisol stress reaction when they think of you. So then you can't actually get through to them. Actually making people feel safe, even if you fucking hate them, even if you disagree with them, even if you disagree with the things they think, you think they're morally reprehensible, you have a better logistical, scientific chance of converting them by making them feel safe. And we don't do that at all. And that's what I'm trying to now do.
I think that's laudable, and it makes sense, and it's based in kindness and outreach and all the things that it feels like instinctively we need to do. And yet, anyone who sticks their head above any sort of parapet these days will get a lot of support and connect with a lot of people, but will also receive, it just seems as a matter of fact, torrents of abuse.
Yeah.
Because people in their bedrooms know where to find you. And idiots around the world can sort of, tap something out on a keyboard and it will reach you. Mm-hmm. Are you equipped against that? Are you fine to let all that bounce off, or does that get to you sometimes? Just the amount of it in the
lies
vitriol.
really get to me. Lies get to me a lot. Other than lies, if it's something that I've done that's pissed people off, I can accept that. It's how I learn. It's how I grow. I've grown up so much, and I've learned so much from the fact that people have just been like, "No, you fucking missed the mark here." That's fine.
Right.
When it comes to just standard abuse, I find rape threats very distressing because I'm human. Yeah. But other than that, I used to be an internet troll, David. I was a internet cunt.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't even realize I was, but I was just like on the internet just to make fun of people and be mean. This is like at the very beginning of social media. And I was slut shaming, and I was a misogynist, and I didn't know anything about activism. I didn't know what the word patriarchy was. I didn't know anything.
Wow.
I was just mentally ill and lonely and insane. And so I would get online and just be a little bitch. And so I understand the mentality of someone who feels so disempowered in their own life, and they have so much rage pent up and it needs to go somewhere, and they can't, for whatever reason, express it where they are. So they just think, oh, this is also dehumanized. I'm just going to like spurt out some shit online. And it's not really going to hurt anyone because it's just words. So I kind of get it. So it doesn't really bother me. When I see that, I go, you're lonely, or you're having a mental health crisis.
Because you recognise the
I
impulse.
recognise that behaviour.
Yeah.
No one happy. I haven't written a Yelp review. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't gone online to slag anyone off or be mean to someone or write something unkind about someone's appearance in the comment section because I'm a happy person. If you have the inclination to do that, that is an immediate, like, that's a distress signal that says you need to check out what's going on in your own life, that you even had the instinct to do that, because this is weird. It's not bad. It's sad.
So when you were doing that, what changed? Was there a moment when you went, oh, hang on, what the fuck
I had a
are you
nervous
doing?
fucking breakdown, and I got therapy and I became a happier person and started living a happier life. And then boom, the urge to be a cunt went away.
Nice. Good. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, but I was one, and I own that, and I understand it, and I'm really glad now, kind of.
Yeah.
Because it makes all of this, like, I'm sort of sodden with empathy now towards a lot of the people who are just angry, sad, and disenfranchised, and that we dehumanize celebrity. The amount of celebrities I was so rude about, and then I had to fucking meet them in real life. I didn't think I was going to move to LA and then meet everyone, and then fucking go out with a musician who then worked with half the people that I slagged off when I was on the chart, and I'd be sitting in a studio with them being like, so I said some things.
Would you always fess up?
Always.
Oh, well done.
Only if they were being really nice to me. If they weren't nice to me, then I'd be like, glad about what I
was
said.
right.
Yeah. But if they're being nice to me, then I feel very, very fake, not admitting.
And did everyone always take the apology?
Yeah, they were stunned.
Right.
Yeah. It sort of weirdly got me a lot of respect.
Right.
But also, probably didn't feel great to hear that I ever said that about them publicly.
I think that's a therapy in itself, for going through that.
It's an AA step, isn't it?
It really is, isn't it? Yeah, it very much is. Yeah. Finding all the people you've wronged and apologising.
Facing my demons, but the demon is me.
Well, especially if you've got,
But I understand dehumanising these people and then realising, oh my God, these are just like really normal, weird people.
Especially if you can do it with wit and articulacy. I'm not condoning how you use it, but freshly wanked cock is a great expression.
It's art. It is art.
It is artistic, yes. But
yes,
I
still regret it.
Yeah,
I regret it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from McDonald's, Popeyes, Pizza Hut, Wendy's, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a hamburger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
Let me understand a bit where you came from. You grew up in Hampstead.
No, I grew up.
You didn't?
No. So
okay.
I started. A kid who bullied me at primary school, who I haven't seen since I was 9, updates my Wikipedia every day and writes nonsense on it.
Oh, wow.
I'm 38.
Right.
I haven't seen this person since I was 9 years old. And they just rewrite my Wikipedia page.
Oh, so anything
constantly.
I may feel like I know about you from,
my Wikipedia
from the online
is
life.
From someone who I fell out with or something, I guess. I don't remember them, but I fell out with.
Wow.
But I know who it is because they stalk me. But I haven't seen this person since I was 9. So I've said something between the age of 6 and 9. And it's fucked them off.
Wow.
And they have now carried on, which is an actually deeply admirable 30-year grudge.
Whoa.
And they're very dedicated. So I think they don't have a job, to staying on top of my Wikipedia and writing all kinds of crazy shit.
Wow.
So I look mad on Wikipedia. But no, I didn't grow up in Hampstead. I did
didn't.
eventually end up in Hampstead by my teens. But I started in Dulwich and then worked my way slowly up the city. Then for a while, then went back to Croydon. Then I moved to Spain. Then I moved to Pakistan. Then I came back and we lived in Camden. And then we moved eventually to Belsize Park and then Swiss Cottage. And then eventually landed in Hampstead in a council flat.
Why were you moving about so much?
Because we had no fucking money.
Right.
So we kept on being thrown out by bailiffs and then had to keep moving country sometimes when we didn't have enough money to eat in England.
Right.
Because one of my grandmothers lived in Spain and the other one lived in Pakistan.
Ah. So what did your parents do?
I don't talk a lot about my family, but I'm just not going to talk about my family because I chose to put myself in this position, but they didn't.
Okay, all right, we can do that. But you do have
what they did do was not handle money very well.
I see. Right.
So yeah, and they were not together. So it was, just like a very, very fraught, crazy childhood.
I see.
And so it was just, it was distressing, but it also means, again, quite conducive to Hollywood because I'm always moving country.
Yeah, okay.
So I find that very easy. I just adapt anyway. You can just plonk me anywhere now.
Did that mean you moved through a whole bunch of different schools as well then?
Yeah, quite a few schools. But I moved 13 times by the time that I was 11.
That's not
normal.
Well, it's not easy for a kid to, if you're moving about all the time, you're not moving through school with a consistent friendship group.
No. But I was very, very lonely until I was 19.
Okay, what happened at 19?
Met some friends who finally got me.
Okay.
I was just very, very weird and lonely at school. I was very bad at, probably slightly damaged from the amount of moving and stuff as a kid. But I was a very strange child, very odd.
What way?
Never said the right thing at the right time. Would just blurt out any thought in my head. Obviously, the changing personality and accent probably threw people off. I would stare at children quite a lot because I was trying to learn how to be more like them because they seemed normal and popular. And I was, one of very few brown kids in a very white, prestigious school, and I was on a scholarship. So they came from like crazy money and I came from minus money. And I just had to, I was very, very studious. That was not considered cool back then.
No.
And I didn't drink and I didn't smoke and I didn't do drugs. I hadn't kissed anyone. And so I was just like a kind of quintessential loser who would just sit there on my own in the lunchroom staring at everyone, trying to figure out how I could be more normal, become more like them.
Right.
And I got bullied really badly. I was writing on my Substack. I write essays on Substack.
Yes.
And I was writing about the fact that there was this one group of girls who used to come over to my house on like a Saturday night, like loads of them. And I'd always hope that they were going to invite me out, but they would come over just to let me know that they're going out on a fun night out and that I'm not invited. They would come all the way to my house.
Wow. That's an investment.
To find out what I'm doing. And I was always watching like the Eurovision Song Contest or something in my Rugrats pajamas.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, cool, well, we're going out to a really fun party. Bye.
Wow.
So just girls' schools are fucking terrible, but also I did behave like a school shooter. So I take responsibility.
You're slightly letting them off the hook, which
and then
I don't know that you need to do.
But listen, kids are kids. Kids are weird. Kids don't like anything different.
Yeah.
It's an anthropological instinct, and I was incredibly different and weird. And they were badly raised, and my life's better than theirs now, so...
Fuck them.
Boom. But that having been said, at 19, I met a group of boys who were all strange musicians, and they just pulled me into their arms and made me their friend.
Yeah.
And they are now the people that I've been living with for the last 10 years in LA. So they've been there my whole life.
What do you think there are advantages to single-sex education schools, or do you think they're just a bad idea?
I think there can be advantages because I think that it's very confusing to go through that sex hormone. Boys were already so distracting to the girls in my school, just being a school away. So I imagine it's difficult. But I would say it would be better to integrate kids. I think that it's better for boys and girls to learn how to live among each other and learn how to treat each other with kindness and respect. And we just need to do more about teaching them about kindness and respect and consent and all these different things at school rather than just putting a condom on a banana and leaving it at that. I think I prefer mixed schools, and Europe's more mixed, and I think that that's better.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I went to a very bog standard mixed comprehensive, so that's the only experience I have.
Look at you. You're lovely. You're well. You're stable.
You do.
National treasure. Boom.
Not a school shooter, I don't think.
No. But I bet you were popular at school, weren't you?
Not really, no. I was quite dorky. I wasn't unpopular, but neither was I one of the popular kids.
Right.
I was on the outer circle of that.
Okay.
National health glasses.
The outer circle was a dot to me. I was so far back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that give you a lot of misery? Were you very unhappy? Or did you sort of come to terms with, this is who I am? I'm the weird kid, and there's a joy in that.
I don't think it really dawned on me that I was lonely. I just thought, I've just got to do more. So, I'd go to like house parties, but I wouldn't know how to talk to anyone. So I'd set up a coat check,
Listen,
at a house party. I was industrious.
That is industrious.
Yeah. Or I would bring if it was the summer and
I can see the advantage to that now, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I'm telling you. But if it was the summer and I knew people wouldn't have their coats, I would panic and I'd be like, well, what am I going to do? So I'd bring bin liners and then I would clean up the party during the course of it while everyone else was fingering. I was tidying.
So you weren't being fingered at school at all?
No. No one kissed me until I was 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it really good? Was it worth waiting for?
It was really fucking good.
Was it?
Yeah, it was great. It was one of my best friends.
That's good, because the first kiss at 13 probably it wouldn't have been.
No, it was crazy. It was like violins and fireworks. I was really thrilled. I was really, really lucky. Yeah. Because he was like 26 and I was 21, and he just knew what he was doing, and he gave me the best fucking first kiss that I think anyone's ever had.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, great.
But he kissed me out of sympathy. Because everyone
that sounds less sexy, I'll be honest.
My 21st birthday had come along and I'd gotten 20 copies of 40-Year-Old Virgin because everyone was sure that was going to be me.
Wow.
So a friend of mine took it upon me to kiss me.
Wow. Yeah. Just a kiss, though?
Just to get then the floodgates opened.
Okay.
I became a maniac, but only with that one person, and then I've only shagged 5 people ever. But I think considering I've only kissed 6 people, pretty good fucking odds.
Again, it's a good hit rate.
Yeah. I'm a precision striker.
Yeah.
So pretty good.
Yeah.
In my whole phase.
One of the things you've been very candid about is that in your teenage years, you started to struggle with anorexia.
Yes.
Which is not uncommon to women of your generation, women of any generation. Mm-hmm. My wife is of a very similar vintage to you. And she says that Kate Moss's quote, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, devastated a generation.
Yeah. What a fucking lie. She ever had a crosstown donut? Poor Kate. Who was feeding Kate?
Nobody.
Nobody
was feeding Kate. No.
Ever had sourdough pizza? Kate?
I know.
She's taken it back. Bless her.
Has she taken it back?
She took it back years ago, yeah.
Did she?
Because I reckon she's eaten something really good finally and been like, fucking hell, this is actually not as good as being skinny.
Yeah.
We were in the heroin chic era. Yeah. And you just sort of didn't really feel like you had a choice, and it was so hyper-normalized. Like, it was weird to enjoy a meal. There was a queue in my school for girls wanting to vomit up lunch.
Yeah.
It was just very, very normal, and everyone was passing around Tic Tacs, and, it was just like, there was one girl who sat next to me in English class who would bring a weighing scale in, and she would eat her lunch standing on the weighing scale.
Fucking hell.
It was really extreme. It wasn't just me. It was like the entire generation. And so, because there was no one there, the teachers didn't intervene. There were no education classes, no nutrition classes. No one told us about bone density or our periods going away, or the damage that you do to your metabolism, to your heart, the fact that your heart is a muscle and starving yourself strips muscle. Yeah. Fucking hell. I wish someone had told me, because now I've got all the health problems of someone who starved myself for 20 years and I had no idea.
Yeah.
I only just learned that my bone density would be this bad. I had a DEXA scan or whatever it's called, and they were like, yeah, you have a huge loss of bone density. I didn't know that could happen at this age.
Because you didn't eat when you were still growing.
Because I didn't fucking eat. Yeah, I didn't eat, and my kidney doesn't work properly, and my stomach doesn't work properly, and my mental health struggled, because your microbiome is hugely instrumental in the way that your hormones work. 90% of serotonin's made in the gut, 50% of dopamine. So if we don't eat properly, that's why the weight loss injections are quite scary now, because they're fucking with your microbiome. And that's why some people kill themselves on these medications, because they're having a disproportionate dopamine and serotonin dysregulation, and it happens very fast. So that's what was going on. And I remember Gwyneth Paltrow talking about the fact that she eats naked at home, in an Elle magazine article, so that she can stop herself from overindulging. And all the supermodels were talking about their 600 calories a day diets. And
as you are proving right now, you've been hugely articulate on this issue. And it's been one of the things you've advocated very strongly for. And you've founded a community. For anyone who doesn't, for the 3 people who've not heard of iWay, give us a quick sketch of what that movement that you founded, what it sort of is and stands for. And
so this movement, it was called the iWay movement, and I started it in 2018 by accident, because I had severe PMS in the back of a tour bus, and so I was feeling very aggy and emotional, and I kept on seeing all these adverts come up on Instagram, not adverts, like posts come up of very accomplished women, but with a number written across their body, and that number wasn't how many awards they'd won, or how, I don't know what their fucking net worth is, or something like that. The way that we measure men, it was how much they weigh. And once you click on one, you start being bombarded with loads. And I was just so sick of it. I was like, what is happening? There are no pictures of men. You would never see a picture of the Kardashians, whatever anyone thinks of them. They are an industrious empire. Those women are business, like elite business women, and they're tycoons. And to see all of them with their weight written across each of their bodies, when would you ever see that in a family of businessmen? Ever? And so I just said, I weigh my, refusing to be defined by a scale. I was like, I weigh my, my flaws, my journey, the things that I contribute to society, my orgasms. I weigh the sum of all my parts. Like, we have to reframe the way we value women. And it just hit a note again with the public. And I got 10,000 responses in 2 days. And I started an Instagram account, and I thought it would be 2 weeks, like the ice bucket challenge. And then 7 years later, we have 1.1 million followers, and we've been able to change Instagram policies, and we've been able to go to the Congress and speak in the Senate and all these different things. And so we have made huge strides in the way that the world talks about eating disorders and the way that the world talks about diet culture. And we are a part of why celebrities no longer just casually hawk fucking diet products to people, because they know that I will appear.
Right.
Like, Batman.
Yeah.
People put a Batman flare and I come in and I just start annoying you until you take it down.
Yeah.
So that's what iWeigh was, but it morphed eventually, very quickly actually, I would say, into a mental health movement that then became about understanding what's happening within ourselves and within each other without being super judgmental. Because again, in social justice spaces, people make you feel like you're a bad person for not knowing everything.
Yes.
Even if they themselves only learned it yesterday.
Yes.
And so I wanted to create a safe space for people to be able to learn about complex issues like racism or like transphobia or eating disorders or anything in a non-judgmental way, where I would ask very basic questions that they would want to know and that I wanted to know, and I would learn in public and admit I didn't know. And some of those questions were with like the Surgeon General of the United States, and then sometimes it was an episode with a psychic where I asked him, are ghosts watching us when we wank? And he said yes.
And how did that...
So enjoy that, everyone.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Yeah.
In your room.
Yeah. You just sort of completed a phase of this movement with this podcast that you've had. How many years did it run for?
5 years almost.
Right. And you've just sort of put that to bed for a while.
We've covered 250 subjects.
Yeah.
It's insane. And I've put it to bed because I need to stop for a while. I need to stop, and I'm moving on to something new, which is called Move for Your Mind, where iWeigh was amazing, where it was all about uncovering the problems. But now I need to move into an era of fixing the problems.
Right.
It's all good to raise awareness and learn about the history of all these issues. But especially when it comes to mental health, there is something tangible that I can do right now to help people immediately. And that's bring them back to exercise. Diet culture has taken over the exercise industry. It is now so elitist and inaccessible for everyone. And that just makes no fucking sense. Like, why should you have to wear a lemon-coloured two-piece, basically bikini that is so thin that it shows your actual anus while you're exercising? Why should that be a uniform that you have to spend £200 on to be able to feel like you can go to a gym and you feel like you have to turn up at the gym already having a six-pack? I just find it so unacceptable, the way that diet culture has so insidiously and pervasively infused itself into something that everyone's supposed to be doing for their mental health and for their longevity and for good sleep. So it's called Move for Your Mind. We're putting on events. We've got one in London on the 18th and 19th of January, and we'll be doing them all over the world. We started this year and had them in like London and New York and all sorts of places. And it will be online content and a safe space on the internet, the way it once was for eating disorders. It will now become a safe space for people who need motivation to exercise, but they may have a disability, or they may be in a bigger body, or they might be in an older body, where we'll make you feel safe and we will get you to the right instructors and we will throw events. The last event we threw was so unbelievably beautiful, where 175 people were still there at the end crying. Everyone cried because it was the first time they'd done an exercise class. There were people in wheelchairs joining dance classes. It was so communal. The lights were low. No one felt self-conscious. Everyone was wearing baggy clothes. There were no mirrors. And it was like an actual utopia. And so that made me feel really good.
Yeah.
And talking about the sadnesses in the world right now are just starting to make me feel like, am I just putting out more doom into the world?
Right.
Should I put something out that is more positive right now, that actually is tangibly going to change your day? And exercise does that.
Nice. I think it's interesting how often you mention the word safe, and I think that's very key, isn't it? It's allowing people to not be sure. It's allowing people, and that sort of goes back to how you were talking about the right wing, left wing thing. That right wing space feels safe because you can't say anything wrong. There's nothing. There is no sort of.
No, as long as you're generally with them, they'll accept you.
Yeah.
Whereas with us, it's like, you're lucky to be here. You're lucky to be allowed to support us. And you should be able to, if you're really about the cause, you better be able to eat all the shit we throw at you. It's like, who the fuck wants to join that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to be part of this. I'm only with this fucking group because we happen to share the same values, but I hate them.
Yeah. Is Britain home again now? Have you moved back?
Yeah,
right.
I left back in March.
Was that linked to where you saw America going, or was it just time to come home?
Sort of. I think I just love England so much, and every time I was coming home, I was finding it harder and harder to leave. And I just miss my friends, and they're going through so much, and they're having their second babies, and they're getting married or they're getting divorced, and I just want to be home. Like I prefer the work here.
Right.
And I love America, and I've had a lovely time, but 10 years was plenty.
Okay.
I needed to get away. I needed to reframe myself, and I've done that. And now I just feel I'm very in love with England. And so I've wanted to be here, and who knows where I'll go in the future.
Sure.
If the far right do actually, if Nigel Farage becomes the next Prime Minister, I will obviously
Lord help us all.
fuck off to like Thailand.
Yeah, where's next?
Yeah, exactly.
Where do we all run away to?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I had a really nice time in Mauritius recently. I might just go there. They serve curry at breakfast. I was like, brilliant.
That'll do.
But yeah, I currently have been home. I'm writing a book slightly about neuroscience. And some of these sort of subjects, and so I'm just currently working on writing, and I find also London to be a far more inspiring place to write. Nothing happens in Los Angeles.
Right, yeah.
Literally nothing happens.
Except people make things.
Yeah.
Make films.
Not really.
Although they don't make films in LA.
No, they don't make films in LA. They say to be successful.
Talk about making films.
They say to be successful in LA, you should never be spending time in LA.
Yes.
The sign of success in LA is that you're never there.
Oh, that's depressing.
It's so weird. But listen, it's an amazing place to rest, and it's like a permanent holiday, and it's fun, and it's got great food.
Yeah.
I had an amazing time there, but I am uninspired, and so I've come home to be with my people.
Right.
Because I love England. The other day I was out and I heard some woman behind me just loudly announce to her group that she needed to go back to the hotel before dinner because she needed to wash her fanny before she went back out. And I was like, God, I love it here. I fucking love it here.
Yeah,
got to wash my fanny before dinner.
You don't hear that.
I fucking love that.
You don't hear that in Beverly Hills that often.
No, we're just fun.
Yeah.
We're fun. I drove past a hair salon called Barbara Streisand.
Oh, that's excellent.
It's on the way here. It's not far from here.
That's excellent.
And I was like, I just fucking love England.
Oh, God, I love a pun.
I love a pun.
Yeah.
Barbara Streisand.
That's
Are you
excellent.
fucking kidding me?
I've worked out my drag name.
What's your drag name?
Billie Eyelash.
Oh, that is fucking fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's really good. Billie Eyelash is really excellent.
I think that's a perfectly brilliant place to leave it. Thank you for...
I've been more intense than I thought I would. I had a coffee just before I came in. I think that's slightly...
That and the pills, it's been brilliant.
I've just been on a...
It's been brilliant. No, and as someone who is very scared of the online space, because I don't understand it or go there at all, I very much appreciate you fighting the good fight and saying the things that you do and changing the world.
I don't know if I'll go that far, but I am, I don't want to have children because I can't be fucking arsed. So I feel like this is how I'll contribute to the world, is make the world safer for my friends' children.
And for our children. Yeah, exactly.
That's why I'm doing everything, is so that they won't make me godmother. I keep being asked and I just keep saying no. I just keep saying no, thank you.
I know, but read my Substack. That'll do it.
Yeah. No. I'm healing the world. I'm the godmother of the internet. I'm busy. So that's it. That's my contribution.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, and thanks for also using your platform when you do to try to make this world a bit more tolerant or a bit kinder.
I mean, it's just common sense, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. But I'm glad that you do it.
Thank you.
Anyway, let's stop wanking each other off now and go.
Freshly wanked cock.